We're halfway through the month of March. Good morning and welcome to the Ignition News. I'm sorry I got started a little bit late today. I have been going back and forth on Threads. It was a guilty pleasure of mine. The thing about Threads, I was just saying is I actually really enjoy the posts where I get ratioed because I'm so smart and people aren't smart in general. And so they get very emotional. And it's just kind of like, that game at the circus where you shoot the ducks? And it's just like, I don't know. It's just kind of, it's engaging in a way that I know is not healthy. I do know that it's not healthy. So I need to be a little bit better about that. But I was just enjoying the rhetorical back and forth and just, people say stupid stuff like, are you get come on. I demand a higher caliber of troll, whether that's on Threads or TikTok. If you're going to try to come at me, you should probably do an IQ test first, or else you're just going to get obliterated. And it's just, that's fun for me. I enjoy it. I know it's not healthy. Okay, listen, it's like smoking for me. Okay, I quit smoking a long, long time ago. Every now and then I do the boomstick. It's got the menthol flavor. And I know it's not healthy, but sometimes I like to get on Threads and sometimes I like to decimate idiots who think they're fucking smart because they're not smart. And it's just like, yeah, do you not know? Do you not know you're playing with fire right now? Idiot. Anyways, let's move on. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Ignition News. It's like a toxic kind of morning. You may hear the screeching hollers of a chicken in the background. That is Lily. She is angry because Daisy is pretending that Lily's egg was Daisy's egg. This is causing all kinds of trouble in chicken land, as you can imagine. Good morning. Not sure if you can hear that. Anyway, she's very upset. Good morning. It is March 14th or 15th. Jesus. March 15th. It is the Ides of March. Historically, this is the deadline for settling debts in Rome, and it is synonymous with the transition from the Roman Republic to the Roman Empire. Here's Lily. Anyways, it is World Consumer Rights Day. It is Sunshine Week, which starts today. Let's see. In 1920, Maine was admitted to the Union as the 23rd state. In 1917, Tsar Nicholas II was abducted. And let's see. In 1965, LBJ's "We Shall Overcome" speech, following the Bloody Sunday attacks in Selma, President Lyndon Johnson addressed a joint session of Congress to request voting rights legislation explicitly using the anthem of the civil rights movement. So that's pretty important. Let's see. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was born today, RBG, 1933. She had an incredible legacy that she completely squandered by not retiring from the Supreme Court in time. That is an example that you can do so much good with your life. You can do so much really great stuff and then have a lot of that taken back because of selfishness. I know that's probably going to piss some people off. It's like piss people off Sunday. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is RBG had every opportunity to step down and she did not. And just like all of these octogenarian politicians, they want power. It's just like a drug to them. It's like a drug to them and they can't give it up. And they don't realize, what was all the power? But you see, to someone like RBG, who is an icon, there's no doubt about it. See, this is the thing. You can be an icon of the civil rights movement, and you can make a terrible mistake that sets back millions of people. These things are not mutually exclusive. And doing one does not necessarily undo all of the other things. Not necessarily. This is the hazard of trying to do the right thing in difficult times. It's not always easy, as we're learning. So we can celebrate everything that RBG accomplished, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and we can recognize, wow, she might have stepped down sooner. She might have allowed a new generation to take the bench. And this is where the Republicans don't miss. They're pressuring people right now. They're pressuring Clarence Thomas to resign. Resign. You're getting old. And I know, like I said, I feel like today's the day I'm just pissing people off left and right. But let's go ahead and continue on with the show. We have some really serious stuff to talk about today. This is a pretty big day, okay? Some things have happened that you need to be aware of in terms of your rights and in terms of some wins that this government has had and what that's going to mean for you. So let's get into the stories. Before I begin, I want to ask you to please follow us along on your favorite podcast platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, The Chicken Coop. Where else? Substack, YouTube, all those places. We're currently broadcasting live on YouTube, TikTok, Substack, which is kind of fun. Let's see here. No chats in there. And yeah, tap that screen, share it out. Let's get on with the first story. We're still talking about Iran. Obviously, let's start at the gas pump. When the United States and Israel launched the strike on Iran on February 28th, oil was at $67 per barrel. It's been above $95 a barrel consistently, and it briefly crossed 100. That means you're paying about 20% more at the pump. Actually, it's been much more. In Las Vegas here, it's $5 per gallon. There's been projections of $150 per barrel of oil, and I have seen forecasts when you really start to think about it, $200 per barrel, $300 per barrel. Let me really run down an example of how significant this is. So let us look at a home health aide who makes, let's say, $220 per day, going around, traveling from house to house, providing medical care, basic nursing, that kind of thing. Let's just say she makes $220 per day. Okay. So let's say she travels 120 miles per day or 140 miles per day in an average vehicle, 22 to 25 miles per gallon. Okay. Prior to this, she was probably spending about $22 per month or $22 per day in gas. Okay. Well, now gas goes over $7 per gallon. All of a sudden, she's now spending $40 to $45 or even $50 per day in gas. Well, you see, it's not just the added expense which eats into her ability to pay bills. That lack of ability to pay bills then cascades into further economic trouble. So maybe she doesn't buy a Red Bull at the gas station, or maybe she doesn't get a coffee on her way to work in the morning, or maybe she doesn't stop at the grocery store on the way home to get the ice cream to celebrate a tough day. And so that $30 every day that she had is just money that she's now not able to spend, right? So it's $30, $60, $90, $120. That means that the person at the convenience store who owns their family business, they started this small convenience store on the corner. All of a sudden, that's $8 here, it's $12 here, it's $15 here, again. All of a sudden, at the end of the day, well, the convenience store now it's now $240 less per day in revenue from people who just can't afford to buy things because gas is too expensive. So what happens? Well, the convenience store says, we're losing $240 a day. I'm paying $180 a day to have cashier pay for their health insurance, which, let's be honest, they're probably not doing that. And so they say, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to lay you off. We're going to have to lay you off. And so then someone loses a job because home health aide couldn't buy Red Bull. Do you see the cascade of this? The cascade of what is happening. And so where that begins to affect people, where that begins to affect the greater economy, is that's less and less people in the workforce, less and less contributing to the economic spiral. And it gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And the problem that we have is not necessarily that we're in a conflict. The problem is that we're in a conflict that is being run by idiots who have no way out of this. There's no way out of this. Iran is kicking our ass right now. They've got complete control of the Straits of Hormuz, and 20% of the world's oil supply, fertilizer, goods, is just stopped. And I saw this insane tweet from someone who seriously suggested, instead of using ships, to truck the oil from port to port, like Mad Maxing across 1,000 miles of desert. That's how unserious these people are. I see someone in the comments over here says people are dying and this is what we're worried about. We are actually worried about people dying. That's the question. What do you think happens if more and more people start to lose their jobs? If more and more people become unemployed? Where do you think they go? A lot of people can survive a month with no job. They get unemployment benefits. If they get unemployment benefits, you can maybe live in your house until they evict you for about a month, maybe, but that doesn't count for your food if you get food. Maybe you survive in your house for a month, then what? You're living in your car. You're on the streets in the most hostile country in the world for the unhoused. But you can't pay your car bill now. And so one day, while you're using the bathroom at the YMCA, you come back and your car is gone. You now have no home and no car, and you are now living on the streets. If you don't have the resources, if you don't know where to go, where to get connected, you have no money. You sleep under a bridge. Where are what remains of your valuables? They're in your car. Your identification, your birth certificate, what little you could grab from your apartment before you were evicted. How are you going to get to your car to get those things if they even let you get them? You have no car. You have no money. Are you going to beg on the corner of the street to have people sneer at you, swear at you, throw things at you? We are living in the collapse of the empire right now. If you would have told me that 2 years ago, I would have said that you were crazy, a conspiracy theorist. I would have said that you were wildly out of touch with reality. People saying, the average empire lives for 250 years. We're about to be on the America 250 right now. And I saw people say that kind of thing. I was like, Jesus, dude, get it together. But we're embroiled in yet another military conflict in the Middle East 30 years later. We have no money. Apparently, we're out of missiles. The billionaires have everything they need to take control. The thing is, the billionaires are so obscenely wealthy. See, I'm getting into my rants now. The billionaires are so obscenely wealthy that is no longer about how many extra zeros they have at the end of their paycheck. It's about how many resources can they control. And for them, the best case scenario is a collapse. If everything collapses, they can get your house, your land, your property, your government institutions. When the city fails, guess what happens? When people stop paying their taxes, the city has deficits. Do you know what they do? They leverage and they sell bonds in their network. So now the billionaires own your city too. They already owned your politicians, but now they own your water infrastructure or your power infrastructure. They literally own your city through bonds, municipal bonds. Or the city begins to sell off core infrastructure like buildings. So instead of owning your city hall, you're renting your city hall. Your own city government is renting your city hall from a billionaire. And it gets easier and easier and easier. Why do you think they're obsessed with artificial intelligence and automation? They don't want you cleaning their clothes. They don't want you making their food. They are what they are thinking about right now is how to get the robots to fix the robots. That's their chief focus right now. They're close enough to artificial intelligence. It can do just about everything that they needed to right now. They're going to keep moving with that. But the chief focus that they have right now, in addition to fleeing space, extending their life unnaturally, achieving artificial general intelligence, because if they can't extend their bodies, what they think they can do, this is real. I'm not telling you something that's false. What they think they can do is upload their brains into an artificial general intelligence. They don't care how many of you die in the way. They don't care. They're clinging on to the vestiges of their wealth, these greedy dragons on their pile of gold. And unfortunately, right now, they are winning. Let me move on to the next story. Welcome to the Ignition News, everyone. It is March 15th. The next story should really concern you. Wearing black is now terrorism, and it should make you uncomfortable. This story should make you afraid of what the government is capable of. On Friday, a jury in Fort Worth, Texas, convicted 8 people on domestic terrorism charges. What was their crime? They all wore black to a protest outside of an ICE detention facility in Alvarado, Texas, on the 4th of July, 2025. The government argued they were members of Antifa, when the Trump administration has designated as a terror organization. The problem, of course, with that is there is no Antifa. Antifa is a political stance. It is not an organization. Federal courts and legal scholars have been very clear. The president does not have the legal authority to designate domestic organizations as terrorist groups. But by the way, he just did. And by the way, now those people have been convicted. What happened was one person at that protest did shoot and wound a police officer. That was a very serious crime. Obviously, that should be prosecuted. But the other 7 people who were convicted, they wore black. That was the evidence of their membership into this terrorist organization. I'm not lying to you. This actually happened. They wore black to a protest, and they have now been convicted of being terrorists. They have now the roadmap that they need. I had to triple check this story today because somehow it flew under my radar that yes, the federal government has apparently successfully, for the first time, prosecuted people for being in Antifa, even though you can't be in Antifa. Up next, by the way, they're going to prosecute every veteran of World War II, the largest Antifa organization on the planet. I mean, if you're a terrorist for being Antifa, the biggest group of anti-fascists on the planet are the men and women who served in World War II. Men, largely men, obviously. This completely flew off the radar. This is the most serious legal victory they've had. People don't understand how serious it is that the Trump administration was successful in convicting 7 people of being Antifa because they wore black to a protest. Pam Bondi said the plan is to take the same approach to Antifa as the administration took to drug cartels. The cartels, if you recall, they have been bombing them in the Caribbean. This verdict is a test, and the government passed its test. And it should concern you. The next one. Do you remember when J.D. Vance sat in the Oval Office and he told Volodymyr Zelensky something about you didn't even say thank you? Do you remember that insane meeting? Well, it turns out that the United States is the person who should have said thank you because Volodymyr Zelensky, in spite of all of that, actually offered the United States access to key drone technology. Ukraine is, by the way, without question, the most experienced country in the world at handling and intercepting drones. They have developed cheap interceptor drones that are incredibly effective. And Volodymyr Zelensky offered, on behalf of the Ukrainian government, access to that technology. And the Trump administration did nothing. They didn't even respond. Fast forward to the 28th, we strike Iran with Israel. We're now running out of interceptor missiles. And the one country that could help us, Ukraine, they pick up the phone and they call the president. They call the Trump administration. The White House ignored that offer. They just completely ignored it. Now we have dead Americans. Now, obviously, I think it should kind of go without saying that the best way to deal with all this is just to never have started the war anyway. But if we are going to be engaged in this conflict, if we are going to have brothers, sisters, daughters, sons in harm's way, you would think that the government would do everything to protect them. But it seems like we've chosen not to protect those men and women out of personal pride. You didn't even say thank you. I told you, it's intense. Where do you take all of this information? What do you do with all of this information? There are days where we feel like we're winning. There are days where we feel like we're losing. We're not sure all of the time. So you have gas prices that are spiking because we started this war with Iran. We have the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. We didn't get to cover that today, but Jerome Powell is being criminally investigated. We have 7 people convicted in Texas of being terrorists because they wore black to a protest. And American soldiers are dying because the White House was too proud to accept help from Volodymyr Zelensky. The pattern here is that none of this is chaos. None of it. It is incompetence. Sometimes the thing about incompetence that people don't want to admit or acknowledge is that sometimes you can be stupid and win. In fact, unfortunately, a lot of the time in America, you can be stupid and win. But the thing about our movement, the thing about what we have to do, we have to be right every single time. Every single time. They can be wrong 1,000 times. They can arrest 7 people one time and charge them, and they can find a court in Texas, the perfect court, the perfect county, the perfect jurors, and they can win. But you can't miss, not one time. And the thing of it all is, the reason I tell you this is not to have gloom, but it's for you to understand, because it is that focus and clarity that makes you effective. It's why I told you on Friday, go find something that you're passionate about. Go find something that you love. Go find something that you care about. You have to keep your head in the game. I don't know if I have it still. I don't know if I have it still. Where did it go? Well, I'll have to bring it to another. I was last night. I was doing that thing that I was talking about last night. I have just hundreds of old postcards, very old postcards. And so I was looking through some of my old postcards last night, and I found this one postcard that was sent one day before the start of World War One, and it was a postcard that I think might have been part of some affair. And it was this letter that was like, I'm paraphrasing it now, but it was like, "Hey, how are you doing? Are you enjoying the weather?" A little bit of teasing, poking back and forth. "Never again will I find someone quite like you," he said to her. And there was something at the end of the postcard that I think meant to say, like, someone else is reading this postcard, keep a lookout for that. And I couldn't help but think about that person one day before we went into World War One, writing a love letter to someone. Never again will I find someone quite like you. Over 100 years ago. And the connectivity that all of us share, this passion that we have for life, this purpose that we have, whether we're struggling or succeeding. What happened to that man? Did he go to war? Did he die in war? Did he come back home? Did he marry her? Did he marry someone else? I'll never know. But I'm so grateful that instead of that postcard ending up somewhere in the garbage, on fire, secretly burned, somehow through the passage of time for hundreds of years, someone chose to keep it safe. And they passed it from one person to one person. It got stored away somewhere, and eventually it ended up in a box in my house. And every now and then I look at it, and it reminds me of the beautifully perfect human life. The person who wrote that beautiful cursive, as my son said, with a fountain pen. And it's just amazingly important to understand why it is we're doing all of this, why it is we get up every day, and why we fight, why we push back. It's for the people that we love, for the people that we want to love, the people that we want to care about. It's for the people that we might never meet, the people who are struggling. It's for that person who goes to the bathroom, comes back, and their car has been impounded, taken away from them, repossessed. Someone who we might never ever meet. It's for some child in Iran right now, going to school, dreaming, hoping, thinking of what's for snack. And if you know, and if you understand that sometimes even stupid people get victories, well, the challenge that you have is to keep yourself sharp, to keep yourself focused, to understand what is at stake, to understand that even the tiniest slips can be massively consequential. And sometimes you're going to miss. Sometimes you're going to fuck up. And sometimes you're going to fail. But you have to understand and embrace that as well. Somewhere, somehow, hopefully, someone 100 years from now finds some remnant of your life, and they see it and appreciate it. They understand it, or they just get a little bit of a glimpse into what you did with this time, this very short time you had here. And the thing about you, the thing I'm confident of is people who watch this show, who listen to this show, you're the kind of person who in 100 years, someone is going to see what you did. They're going to see some small portion of how you lived with your life. And they're going to know that you were a good person. And so, in the darkest times, in the toughest times, try to think exactly of that. Know that the path you have chosen is the moral path, the righteous path, the good path. That's the Ignition News, everybody. It's Sunday, March 15th. The show has been constantly interrupted by the sound of a jealous chicken. It's hilarious. Even in dark times, we can find little moments of joy. It's nice to know that among all the chaos, the bombs, the economic trouble, that somewhere in some backyard, the only thing one chicken has to worry about is the fact that another chicken stole her egg.